Now, I'm not saying that the Vice President has already, does not anymore deserve to be trusted, but I'm just saying that with the recent developments, it is not going to be good advice or good action on the part of the President to still have her on board. The National Security Council is an advisory body. And this is an advisory body in relation to the President as the Commander-in-Chief. So the President has the right as well as the responsibility of seeing to it that whoever advises him is within his fullest trust and confidence. Malicious talaga si Mr. Harry Roque. Kung iniisip mo yan lagi, that's malicious. Ano? Because the Constitution is very clear when may a President declare martial law. I don't think it is in the mind of the President right now. What he has in mind is the economic prosperity of the country, the health and welfare of the people, especially those of the lower classes, and the prioritization of his legacy projects. No? The President accepts that as the number one concern. It's not about extending himself in power. No, he has no thinking about that. He does not even think in those terms. If before the treatment was, ang budget ng education was only that allocated to DepEd, that was the wisdom at the time. But then, so many things have happened. Yung education responsibility has been shifted to other sector, to other government agencies. So, is it fair for everyone to claim na hindi mo dapat ibilang yan sa education sector dahil nandun sa PNP or nandun sa EFP? Hindi maganda yun. There were a lot of items that came under conditional implementation. Very significant yun. Kasi pag sinabi mong conditional, there is no, at this point, there is no certainty of them being implemented. It's like a veto, but it's not a veto. No? Well, you remember that the President vetoed some items, made line item vetoes. Ang effect ng line item veto is just to reduce the potential deficit. Okay? We cannot transfer what we vetoed to other items. So, the important thing to remember is the President said maximize on what you can do for those that were approved, the program. And then the unprogrammed, maybe we could give prioritization there when the available funds will come. Does that answer your question? Or?
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Maricel Halili, TV5.
Magandang hapon po. ES clarification lang po dun sa budget. I understand nasa 288 billion po yung insertion ng BICAM dun sa unprogrammed appropriations, 300% increase compared dun sa NEP. So bakit po nasa 26 bilang yung na-veto ni Presidente? Ano po yung logic nung natira dun sa 288?
As I recall, the President vetoed more than the 26 billion. There were 190 billion that were vetoed. Ang binito lang niya doon sa 26 yata was the sa DPWH. Okay. Ang basis for the veto is if this were not part of the NEP, yung original proposal, then they must have been insertions. That is the assumption. So, binito ko yan because they have no supporting documents or they were not part of the plan or the program of government. But there were other areas. Now, you put more emphasis on this. There were a lot of items that came under conditional implementation. Very significant yun. Kasi pag sinabi mong conditional, there is no, at this point, there is no certainty of them being implemented. It's like a veto, but it's not a veto. No? We will just wait for the proper time to consider them again when the funds are become available, and the President, through the recommendation of the Secretary of Budget, will consider that it is already timely to look at these items again. Yun ang condition generally. May guidelines that will be adopted, like the AKAP, sinubject ni Presidente to the joint the guidelines to be jointly come up with by the NEDA, the DPW, DSW, and DBM. Oo. So that is more hindi naman veto. It will be inaccurate to consider that as a veto, but you look for the conditions and you will understand.
And sir, just a clarification, because the group of Shelo Magno is questioning yung under ng education sector budget. Bakit daw nakasama, even under dun sa education sector na budget, yung PNPA, yung PMA, which is kasama naman siya sa budget before ng PNP, ng AFP. So bakit isinama doon? Kasi pag hindi daw sila kasama, in effect, mas malaki pa rin yung budget ng DPWH compared sa education sector.
Alam nyo, yung language of the Constitution is not that specific, no? Na sinabi, education. You have to look at this with a more, with a broader understanding. If before the treatment was, ang budget ng education was only that allocated to DepEd, that was the wisdom at the time. But then, so many things have happened. Yung education responsibility has been shifted to other sector, to other government agencies. So, is it fair for everyone to claim na hindi mo dapat ibilang yan sa education sector dahil nandun sa PNP or nandun sa AFP? Hindi maganda yun. Huwag kayong mag-alala at ang gobyerno ay tinututukan lahat yan. Parang natural na nangyayari ko minsan per commodity. Yung right now, ang star of the moment is kamatis. No? Napansin namin yan. At other times, mostly bigas. Mula nung umpisa ng paninilbihan ko sa kabinete, nagtataka kami kung paano pa mangyari yan. There is sufficient supply, but the prices don't go down. They go up. So we have been very active in prosecuting yung mga hoarders. But that is only one part of the explanation. Ano? Merong smuggling. But we are looking at all this. Yung kamatis is local production. Bakit mataas? I was watching the broadcast last night and I wondered why this could happen to us, an agricultural country. Pero huwag kayong mag-alala. The NEDA is very confident that the inflation rate will be very, very low. I just don't know how the respective departments who are responsible for their respective areas will address this issue of bringing down the rate of inflation.
Sir, other matter lang po. How does the palace view the presence of China's monster ship in our exclusive economic zone, sir?
We view it with concern. No, ganito yan. So far, we have been challenging the presence of that monster ship. The Coast Guard, our Coast Guard, has always been very alert in following up yung presence of that monster ship. Pasulpot-sulpot, and it is within our exclusive economic zone. So, challenge yan. If you look at the YouTube channel, makikita ninyo where there were many occasions na challenge ng ating mga Coast Guard vessels yung kanila. Meron ding counter-challenge yung Coast Guard ng China. But it all works well in the end kasi nothing confrontational happens. So, maaaring projection ng issue dito. But I'm not going to say anything more because that's a matter of operation, no?
Pero sir, nagkaroon na po ba tayo ng high-level mechanism na way para sabihin sa China or i-approach yung China sa presence ng asset nila doon sa area natin?
Okay. To answer that question, dalawang bagay ang sasabihin ko. The first one is we have always been issuing protest, demarching, they call that demarche. And the other one is there is a permanent apparatus for that, the vice ministerial level. Every now and then nag-alternate ang Beijing at saka Philippines, Manila, to host that vice ministerial level conference. So this is the precise issue that they address, yung peaceful settlement of that dispute in the West Philippine Sea. Yung West Philippine Sea is the one that covers our maritime domain, the EEZ, and our territorial sea. No, beyond that, wala tayong control doon, so we do not deal with that issue. That's international. So every now and then nagmi-meeting yung the undersecretary natin, si Undersecretary Lazaro on our part, and the other side is the vice minister for this particular issue that is there in Beijing. So nag-alternate yan.
Sir, sorry, other matter lang din po. May information na po ba yung palace regarding sa pag-alis daw po ni Hitman Edgar Matobato sa Pilipinas?
Wala kaming masabi dyan dahil we have no connection with Mr. Matobato. No? Whatever is his purpose in going out, we cannot control that. But if he intends to go to testify in another forum, that's also beyond our control. No? Hindi namin siya ina-encourage, hindi rin namin siya dinidiscourage.
Thank you, sir.
Julie Aurelio, Inquirer.
Hello, sir. Good morning. Kay E.S. Bersamin po, earlier, SSS President Teclaro said that they will continue with the contribution hike of the SSS. May I ask if calls for the suspension of the said hike has reached the President and what are his thoughts on it? Thank you.
Actually, tungkol dun sa hike sa SSS, I think the SSS decided that last year pa. Programmed kasi yan eh. They increased yung, what I know is they increased yung monthly minimum na benefit for 4,000 to 5,000. Tapos there were other expansions of benefits. And to address that expansion, dinagdagan nila ng 1% lang naman yung contribution. That was long before this call was made. Okay. Now, if your question is, ano ang reaction ng Malacanang tungkol dyan sa call for suspension of the increase by 1%? You must understand kung kanino galing yung call. Kandidato eh. Si Rolly Makasait, who used to be president of SSS. I don't know if that is part of his way of campaigning. Pero we will consider seriously kung that issue ever is brought to us officially. We can understand where that call is being made.
So, sir, as of now, there are no official efforts or communication as to the...
Wala. Pero ito I want you to understand. Ang mga ganyang increases, they are studied, well studied, based on actuarial considerations. No? Napakahirap na sabihin mo, wag kayong mag-increase. We cannot be that arbitrary. We have to recognize that this SSS has a very respected actuary. Meron silang pag-aaral tungkol dyan. If you always meddle in their management of their affairs where they are very specialized, it will not work. It will not work. It may even be negative ang impact. So pabayaan na natin muna. Palagay ko, maaring yung call na yan is maybe good for next year if it ever will be reviewed. But right now, matagal na nila pinag-aralan yan. In-announce nila long before that call was made. And in fact, these benefits are being expanded now. So why don't we just let that process continue and produce results that were predicted by actuarial studies?
Thank you, sir. Another question sana for Secretary Bautista. Sir, you mentioned kanina that you discussed 15 or 16 flagship projects. May we get details as to the status of implementation of those projects and maybe a brief rundown of the specific issues affecting each one, like right of way lang ba, relocation of ISS ba, etc. Kung pwede lang po. Thank you.
It took us more than 1 hour to discuss these problems. No, there are so many issues as I mentioned earlier. No, but in summary, no, we were able to. Ang position namin din is we have taken proactive measures, no, to address its issue, no, and we are working to keep the project on track, no. Kung pag-uusapan natin yan, baka abutin tayo ng another 1 hour, no. But basically, these are normal issues that we encounter when you implement infrastructure projects, no. Right of way, funding, no, coordination, minsan delay ng mga contractors, no. Sometimes there are technical issues that need to implement redesign, no, or we need to redesign the project, no. One area that we talked is the realignment of LRT 1 extension to Niog, no. Meron na tayong existing alignment, no, but nagkaroon ng project ang DPWH, nagkaroon sila doon ng isang flyover, no. So and because of that, I will have to redesign again the project, no. Yan yung mga issues that we need to address, no. But kailangan nga yung coordination with other agencies, no. Also yung mga funding, we really need that there will be sufficient fund to support the right of way acquisition, no. May mga issues din kami pinag-usapan tungkol sa BIR, no. Kasi we have to pay our contractors, or the contractors need to pay mga taxes, VAT, no? And during the time that we buy properties, may mga capital gains tax yan na kailangan bayaran, no? There are some issues that we need to also settle with the BIR, no? There are issues also about registration of titles of lands, no, yung mga binibili namin na properties, no. So we need to coordinate with LRA, for example, yung Land Registration Administration, no. There are issues about some assets that are being questioned by local governments, no. So napakaraming issue, but as I mentioned, we have discussed measures and programs so that we can implement the project on time.
Thank you, sir. Tuesday New, DZBB.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. To Secretary Uy, please. Sir, sabi yung kanina ay naging effective naman yung implementation ng SIM Registration Act. Malaking ibinaba doon sa mga tax scams. Pero nabanggit nyo rin, sir, na nag-shift na ng methods ngayon ang scammers. So may initiative po ba or move ang DICT na sa Congress na amyendahan itong batas na ito para makasabay din sa pagkontra dun sa mga scammer?
Ang strategy namin ngayon is to do it on the operational level, no? Dahil matagal ang legislative process. At ang nangyayari kasi is napakabilis ng evolution ng mga methodologies on the scammers. So, if we go through that legislation, pagka lumabas na yung batas, bago na naman ang methodology nun. So, marami tayong batas na ilalabas na naghahabol, kumbaga, sa teknolohiya. So, what we are actually working on with Congress is to amend the cybercrime law in order to have a more encompassing approach. Like in other countries, what they have legislated is a law against online harm. So, kung ma-address yung online harm, that covers a wide swath, no? Whether it's cybercrime, it's scamming, it's hacking. So long as you conduct activities that will cause harm to others online, then it's covered by that law. So we're trying to consolidate and come up with a more inclusive approach rather than addressing them on a per methodology basis. Kasi, yun nga, hindi tayo makakahabol niyan. Pagkalabas ng batas, nagbago na naman yung technology at yung technique ng mga criminals na ito.
Thank you, sir.
Last question, Ace Romero, Philippine Star.
Secretary Bersamin, sa ibang paksa naman po, the allies of former President Rodrigo Duterte are criticizing the reorganization of the National Security Council. Attorney Panelo claims it smacks of bad politics and it's meant to target the Vice President, while Attorney Roque is questioning whether it is a prelude to martial law. Kasi tinanggal daw yung mga Vice President noong time ng unang Marcos admin. What do you say to those criticisms?
Dalawang bagay, ano. Meron ako nabasa na something that reminded me that Panelo, during his time as presidential advisor, was also advocated the exclusion of then Vice President Leni Robredo. No? So he has no moral authority to question the decision of the president. But the second thing that I would like to emphasize here is this. Look at it this way. The National Security Council is an advisory body. And this is an advisory body in relation to the President as the Commander-in-Chief. So the President has the right as well as the responsibility of seeing to it that whoever advises him is within his fullest trust and confidence. Now, I am not saying that the Vice President has already does not anymore deserve to be trusted. But I'm just saying that with the recent developments, it is not going to be good advice or good action on the part of the President to still have her on board. Now anyway, the President has the absolute power of absolute reorganization, meaning he can choose the people he listens to or he would listen to. So if the National Security Council is supposed to be including members who are trusted by the President, then let it be understood in that light. Wala kaming personalan, but my statement before was the Vice President has ceased to be relevant as far as the responsibilities of that membership in the National Security Council is concerned.
Secretary, how about the question of Attorney Roque that the President is supposedly, whether the President is considering martial law because of these changes in the NSC?
Alam mo kung iniisip mo yan lagi, that's malicious, ano? Because the Constitution is very clear when may a President declare martial law. I don't think it is in the mind of the President right now. What he has in mind is the economic prosperity of the country, the health and welfare of the people, especially those of the lower classes, and the prioritization of his legacy projects. No? The President accepts that as the number one concern. It's not about martial law. It's not about extending himself in power. No, he has no thinking about that. He does not even think in those terms. Malicious talaga si Mr. Harry Roque.
Salamat po.